Okay, so Japan and U.S. The U.S. differ in the type of government in that Japan has a parliamentary government with a past monarchy, where the United States has mostly been constitution-based and a federal republic since we got freedom from being a colony. The head of government in Japan is the prime minister, where generally in the United States it's the president. The prime minister has a parliament, which he appoints. Which is same as like the USA because the president appoints the cabinet. In Japan, the prime minister can serve for 4 years or less, whereas in the US they serve for 4 years. In Japan, they can have as many terms as they want. There is no term limit, where in the US there is a 2-term max. The head of government is considered a ceremonial role for the most part in Japan, while in the US it's an executive branch. So in the political context, I have a graph for the corruption in Japan and the USA. As you can see, Japan has fluctuated. In about 2005, 2006, it dropped quite a bit, and then it went back up, and it's been stable. While in comparison, the U.S. has been generally more stable and has only increased rather than decreased. And in the bottom right corner, that's the Prime Minister of Japan. His name is Shinzo Abe.
The difference between the annual percentage of GDP growth between the United States of America and Japan would be that Japan started off as declining until about 2011, and then it started increasing, while the United States started to increase and then started to decrease in 2010. The difference between the current international currency for GNI per capita PPP between the United States and Japan would be that Japan started to increase and then decreased in 2009, while the United States increased until about 2008, and then it started decreasing. Then the current U.S. currency for GDP, the difference between the United States of America and then Japan would be that the United States continuously increased, while Japan increased until about 1995, and then it started decreasing. The difference between the annual percentage of inflation for consumer prices for the United States and Japan would be that Japan started to increase and then really increased in 1971 and then started to decline in 1974 and just continually declining. And then for the United States, it started to increase and then started to decline in 1985 and continuously declined until 2015. The current U.S. currency for foreign direct investment net flows and for the differences in the United States and Japan would be that Japan continuously just stayed the same from 1970 to 2005, and then started to increase in 2006, and then back to decreasing in 2010, while the United States started to increase in 1977 and then continuously increase until 2015.
For the most part, Japan is a very urban place where less than 10% of the population live in a rural area. In religious affiliation below, you can see that for the most part, the population is either Buddhist or Shinto. And as you can see, the percentage is above 100% because oftentimes people will practice like more than two religions at the same time. So for the first part, we're going to talk about power distance. Japan has a higher amount of power distance, which means that they're more comfortable with inequality than the United States. It has a lower amount of individualism than the United States, so for the most part, it's more collective. It's more about the group. It has a higher masculinity number, which means that masculine traits such as competitiveness and achievement are much more frequently observed in that type of environment than the United States. The uncertainty avoidance is also higher, which means that they do not like ambiguity, they're not comfortable with it. Long-term orientation is also higher, and indulgence is significantly lower, which means that they're just not comfortable with enjoying many things in life, which people in the United States are more generally comfortable with. So this graph is based on the percentage of the whole. As you can see, the biggest ethnicity in Japan is Japanese, to the point where Korean, Chinese, and other are so small they each make up less than 1%.
Japan is an island located in the Pacific Ocean. It has very many dense cities, imperial places, mountainous national parks, and thousands of shrines and temples. Japan's total land area is about 378,000 square kilometers and has a population of around 127 million people and growing. It is compared in size to Germany, Finland, Malaysia, and Vietnam, and compared to the United States, the entire country is smaller than the state of California. So it's an extremely small country, but it also lays in a zone with a lot of crustal instability, which causes the country's land to be in a large majority unsuitable for residential use. And this causes Japan to be one of the most densely populated countries in the world. Japan is also home to around 10% of the world's active volcanoes, which both attracts tourists but also causes up to 1,500 earthquakes to be recorded yearly. Commonly, the magnitude of these earthquakes range anywhere from 4 to 6 in the Richter scale. And although damage from volcanoes have caused extreme devastation in the past for Japan, they have also very much helped the country's economy as tourism continues to grow. And it brings curious to want to see these active volcanoes, as they tend to be a very attractive and beautiful sight. A problem for Japan would be pollution, as it's become over the years a very serious concern for Japan. Pollutants from power plant emissions have led the country to experience a lot of acid rain. Around the mid-1990s, Japan had the 4th highest level of industrial carbon dioxide emissions in the world, which has caused many health issues for its inhabitants like bronchitis, bronchial asthma, and many related health conditions as a cause of this pollutants from power plants. The problem also extends to Japan's water supply. It has affected the water surrounding Japan, the country's lakes, rivers, all of which are experiencing high acid levels due to these pollutants coming from these industries, which makes the water in Japan very dangerous and pretty much undrinkable. other pollutants to their water also would come from DDT, BMC, and mercury. So overall, pollution is a major concern for Japan and its surrounding areas.
Japan is the most advanced country in terms of technology. They are known for their entertainment systems like TVs, video game consoles, home theaters, and computers. All these are manufactured by one of the headquarters, Sony. Japan operates on a judicial system which holds 5 different types of courts: the Supreme Court, the High Courts, District Courts, Family Courts, and Summary Courts. The summary courts handle civil cases that do not exceed 900,000 yen, and they also handle criminal cases which are punishable by fines or light penalties. The district courts handle most types of civil and criminal cases. The family courts, which handles family affairs and juvenile cases. The high courts, which handles appeals filed against judgments rendered by district, civil, and family courts. The Supreme Court, which is the highest court of them all, which handles the appeals filed against judgments from the high courts. While looking at the SWOT analysis for Japan, you can see that they are the 3rd largest in the economy after the United States. They also have the largest automobile manufacturers that include Toyota, Honda, Nissan, Mazda, Mitsubishi, Subaru, Yamaha, and Kawasaki. They are also known for their improvement in technology.
The weaknesses of Japan for the SWOT analysis was that the shipment of Japanese textile industry have decreased to about 1/3 of those at peak. Also, after the Lehman shock, in particular, the production level decreased sharply. Prices are becoming to be even lower. And in the global cost reduction competition, production of general purpose materials by China is increasing. And lastly, most apparel products are imported, few products are exported. And thank you. That is all for the economic indicators for Japan.
Japan has a very strong position within the Asian market. An opportunity they have would be to strengthen the already existing relationships they have within the Asian market. Another opportunity they have is that Japan has a very strong textile market currently, but this market is mostly centralized in Asia. A strong opportunity they have would be to expand, in particularly in Europe and the Americas. And then finally, Japan has a highly effective labor market. Many opportunities are available to Japan if they could mobilize their labor market.
During our SWOT analysis, we concluded that Japan is currently facing several threats. To mention a few, there is a declining population, as it has been predicted that the population for Japan will drop from 127 million people to 117 million by the year 2030 and below 90 million by the year 2057. Another threat for Japan is that it is a major earthquake zone because of all of the active volcanoes surrounding the island, and this could potentially bring a lot of economic loss and devastation if the country was to face a major earthquake. Japan also has a very vulnerable economy, and it has been battling with deflation for many years, and there's an ongoing debt crisis that the country is trying to keep under control. And last, Japan does not use the English language very much, which makes it incredibly difficult for them to communicate with a global society.